This morning, I was thinking about why, as a species, speaking in general terms, why are we so afraid of reality? And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by that as I go along here, but why do we feel compelled, and I mean really driven, to invent narratives that easily explain what we don't understand? And of course, religion plays a very important role in this phenomenon of human existence. So, what do I mean about, first, when I use the term reality, what do I mean? What I mean is that we exist in a vast physical environment that I call reality. It hasn't been very long since we've actually begun to even sort of get an inkling of an idea of what all this is. If the science is correct, both cosmological, biological, paleontological, I don't know all of my ological words, but as far out as we can observe now with the aid of the not the Hubble, but the James Webb telescope, that is viewing galaxies that appear now, according to our calculations of, the light's red shift, or however that works, viewing galaxies that appear to be older than what we've calculated the age of our observable universe is. But when we look outward, when we look beyond our planet and beyond our solar system, and we begin to see other galaxies, we realize that it's all of the same ingredients, physical ingredients. The theory of atomic structure. We know that we live in an atomic reality. Our bodies, everything is all made up of combined particles. So we look out and all we see is a vast physical universe whose origin we don't know. And then we look downward, if you will. If we look microscopically, we kind of see the same thing. What we see is just an enormously, unbelievably, almost incomprehensibly vast amount of particles, so small that it's unimaginable. I forget, what these things are, but, there are more, I don't know, cells within my brain than there are stars in the observable universe, or something like that. So whether we're looking macroscopically or microscopically, all we observe is more of the same physical matter. I'd also mentioned paleontology, and I have no educational level in any of these things, other than just the few books that I've read on the subject. Anybody? But when we examine ourselves, all we can discover, all that we have discovered, is that the properties that make up who we are physical in nature. They're all physical things. So anyway, having said all that, I find it odd that humanity needs to create. I find that humans are afraid of that, because in my mind's ear, I can hear billions of religious people, crying out, "What about my purpose? What about my meaning? Are you telling me that it's all just a big, giant void into which I'm born and into which I will return, with no significance other than the significance of my momentary life?" Yes. My question is why fear that? Religion, in my opinion, just cheats. They take a shortcut that they think gives them the right answer. When I was in school, I didn't cheat, but I was always looking for shortcuts, and inevitably those shortcuts always led me to the wrong answer. So I was a perpetual C- student through my schooling years, elementary through high school, and even the little bit of college that I did go to. But religion wants a shortcut. A God made it. Well, how did he do it? We don't know. He's just a really big, powerful dude, and he did it. Or they, depending on your religion. So it sort of short circuits thought about how that all occurred. I was a Christian fundamentalist for a number of years, and it was always, this was a very common response to where did it all come from, etc. Just say God did it. Well, how did he do it? He just spoke it. He just said, poof, let there be light, and there was light, etc. And if you were to ask, well, how did that exactly work? Why did according to the Christian definition, I don't know about other gods, but according to the Christian definition, God is a spirit. He is not a corporeal being. He had a temporary body in the form of his son, but that only lasted, 33 years or whatever, and now that body has been transformed, and your body will be transformed as well, and those sort of things. But the question is sort of interesting to me, is that if God is a spirit, why did he create an existence, a reality that was the complete opposite of his reality. Why aren't we spiritual wisps? Sort of like even nebula has matter in it. But why aren't we like him? Well, we do have a spirit. Okay. It just isn't obvious that we are made of anything other than physical matter. And to say otherwise it's a little bit disingenuous. But why do we need to do that kind of a tap dance around reality? In fact, it's not really a tap dance. It's sort of a grand waltz around accepting life for what it really is. Why do we feel compelled to do that kind of thing? What are we afraid of? Well, if no gods exist, which I don't think they do, I don't have any proof of that, but I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit trail of arguments. But if no gods exist, well, okay, so I pass into the great beyond. No, that's not right. I pass into the great void. I just go out. My matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So I just go back into it. But sin consciousness, without a conscious, without a sense of consciousness, I'll know nothing. I think it was Mark Twain. They asked, are you afraid of dying? And he said something along the lines of, how did he say that? For billions of years before I was born, I never knew that I even existed. So why should I be afraid of what happens to me after I die? But anyway, all of that to say that my thought this morning is just, why do we fear this? It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing to be a sentient being in a physical world where we can tap into understanding and knowledge and even the beautiful revelations of nature itself. The revelations of how matter coalesces over billions and billions, as Carl Sagan used to say, of years to form all of this. To drill down microscopically down to the level of the quark and you'll have to ask the scientists about that kind of stuff, but how all that kind of stuff works is just absolutely breathtakingly phenomenal and beautiful and marvelous. Okay, we're not the center apparently, we're not the center of anything other than our own imaginations. All right. I don't mind that so much. I kind of like my anonymity from time to time. It bothers me more to know that there's some God watching me take a shower and washing my privates, than it does to think that, I'm more comforted with the idea that I can be anonymous, private. And then when I want to be exposed publicly, I can do so. But in none of these things does fear need to play a role. I'm more afraid of what we do to one another than I'm ever concerned about what some deity is going to do to me. I heard one person on the internet say, it appears that God can't even give me a hangnail. much less throw me into a pit of eternal conscious torment. I think we're afraid of the wrong things. Prehistoric man, those who wandered the great savannas of Africa, or lived through the changing ice age of Northern Europe, I don't think they had a sense of a fear of any deity. They were more afraid of that beast coming out of the bush, eating them or eating their loved ones. That's what they feared. And they also feared the tribe that they didn't understand. Could you imagine if some of those theories are correct, if Homo sapiens viewed Homo neanderthalis or they saw each other? Surely there was fear, like, well, God, they're so different than we are, what's that all about? But we have more to fear on this planet of what we do to ourselves, to each other, than we have to do about the whim of some deity. So my thoughts this morning are just around this question, this simple question from a C- student. Why are we afraid of reality? Why? It doesn't make sense to me. Fear God, the Bible says, is the beginning of wisdom, I think. Nah. Doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't make any sense. It makes more sense to me to embrace reality, to fall in love with what I have right now, to realize that this could be my last breath, my last thought. Did I strive to be the best version of myself that I could be? Did I strive to do the best that I could for others? Recently, I had someone tell me that I was wasting my life because I was storing up treasures for myself on earth. And this person would have preferred that I sought misery here so that I could gain some reward there. I didn't have the heart to tell him that if the there that you're describing is real, I don't really want to go there. It doesn't sound very appealing to me. An eternity of groveling just doesn't, it doesn't tickle my fancy. I'm not a groveler by nature, but he is, and he likes self-loathing. He enjoys hating the world and everything in it. He feels that's his passion. All right, well, hey, we've got a choice, right, in this matter. And however far those choices extend, we can't say. But we have a choice. I can choose to focus on heavenly things. I can believe, or try, really I can't, but I can try to believe in your God. In reality, in this particular situation, it's not that I have to believe in God as much it is as I have to believe in this guy, because apparently he's got a line on divine revelation that nobody else has. And so really it becomes not faith in God, but faith God's messenger, of which I'm not interested in. And you can't make yourself believe something that you don't believe. It's ridiculous. But people tell themselves stories so repeatedly, with such great frequency and intensity, that it sort of has this, it has this way of caging your thought, your free thought, your imagination. But anyway, all of that to say that I'm not afraid of reality. I find more comfort and peace in reality than I ever did in religion. But that's my thoughts for the day.